Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Recently, we were asked if we think that modern ships have enough guns. No. End of video. That's not just my battleship bias here, where we are almost exclusively guns. Since the end of World War II, missiles have become more and more effective, but to gain that effectiveness, they've also increased in cost. They have tremendous capabilities, and so we've seen the number of guns on ships decrease dramatically as they have missiles added. First, with ships that are World War II built gun ships that then get modified with missiles. I'm thinking ships like Boston, Canberra, Little Rock, which is still around. Ships like the Charles F. Adams destroyers that take a ship like the Forrest Sherman Hall, of which Edson and Turner Joy are still around, and they basically drop one of their guns and replace it with a missile. That brings us to the modern day, where new-built ships like Arleigh Burke destroyers have a single 5-inch gun, a pair of 25mm like this, and a handful of railing-mounted guns like 50 cals or some of the belt-fed 5.56 guns or 7.62 guns, depending on the ship and the number and whatnot. Newer frigates have even smaller guns than that. Ships like Arleigh Burke has a single 5-inch gun, a single phalanx, a pair of 25mm like this, and a handful of railing-mounted belt-fed guns like the 50 cal. Smaller ships like the new Constellation-class frigates or the littoral combat ships have even less firepower with, what is it, a 47mm? Something that has very little anti-surface capability. So obviously, as a battleship person, I'm going to say that's not enough firepower, but I've got some stuff to back that up. During the Vietnam War, we're doing a tremendous amount of shore bombardment. In fact, the missile-converted cruisers do far more shore bombardment than actual missile work. Granted, their missiles are for anti-aircraft, and the Vietnamese weren't sending aircraft against the US fleet, but they're still relying on their guns. Heavy 8 or 6-inch guns. Battleship New Jersey is even reactivated to go participate. During the Gulf War, the Iowa-class battleships provide critical shore fire support. During the Falklands War, British warships aren't slinging missiles inland, they're using their 4.5-inch guns to support land operations. These ships have like one of them. But it's not just shore bombardment, they're also using their 4.5-inch guns and their lighter guns, including Bofors 40mm, which at this point are like 40 years old, against Argentinian aircraft because their missiles either can't reload fast enough or can't acquire a target that close to shore with low-flying aircraft. And wow, the Falklands, being the only naval war in the age of missiles, should be used as more of an indicator here. But the United States' brief war with Iran, we do fire a couple of missiles at Iranian frigates, but when we're doing punitive action against their oil rigs, they're using their 5-inch guns. And now, most critically, the United States and the coalition of allied powers is protecting the Red Sea, and they're firing off their missile magazines at drones that are significantly cheaper than their missiles. So more often than not, they're trying to shoot them down with guns, which has crew members turned out on deck with small arms, in addition to using the very small number of guns like these. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has showed that drone warfare is advancing incredibly quickly and is all over the battlefield. Every unit has access to drones. Drones are being destroyed every day, and drones are coming up with counters to anti-drone weapons every single day. And these tactics are evolving extremely quickly. One of the lessons that we should be taking away from this is that our expensive missiles have a place, and we shouldn't be getting rid of them. Being able to throw a Tomahawk missile a couple hundred miles inland and throw it through a window of a building is a great idea. but we also have to retain some gunfire support for shore support, and we need to put more guns, particularly close-in weapon systems, on these ships to defend against drones. They're trying to develop railguns, they're trying to develop lasers, they're spending billions of dollars on it, but we've got weapon systems that have really, really effective guidance systems that can fire really cheap ammunition at these drones. In Ukraine, they're finding that shotguns are effective, but the drone has to be very close. And for a ship, a drone that close is close enough to drop a payload. But putting more 25 millimeters or more 20 millimeter phalanxes or more railing mounted guns, even as simple and as antiquated as the Browning 50 cal, which at this point is over 100 years old, is effective. I think that we will start to see navies putting out ships with more main battery guns and with larger main battery guns in the future. Does this necessarily mean that we need battleships like New Jersey to be built new or to be brought back into service? No, not necessarily. But I think it is easier to design and field anti-aircraft ships armed with guns than it is to continue pouring money into these laser systems and other things that may be effective at some point in the future, but aren't what we need right now to counter a threat that is very large and growing. On New Jersey, we see it both ways. We see 5-inch guns and all the anti-aircraft guns being removed in favor of cruise missiles, but then we also see things like 25 millimeter Bushmasters, 50 caliber machine guns, and now we found out that there are 10 M60s that are added to be mounted to the rails of these ships. So even on New Jersey, back in the mid-80s, they're starting to realize that they need more of this firepower at the exact same time that they're starting to use drones in combat, i.e. the RPV Pioneer. Now, obviously, there isn't a lot of naval warfare between then and now, but now that we're seeing both drone warfare in Ukraine and drone warfare in the Red Sea, I think that these lessons are going to continue to be learned, and we're going to see a lot more weapon systems like these put on ships. Do you agree? And which weapon systems do you think will be most effective? The lasers? More Bushmasters? Let us know in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum, our channel, and our thoughts on modern warfare. Thanks for watching.